What is dependency injection? A very important question. Let me first share the coding example and let's see how to do without dependency injection, and how then we will see how to do the same thing with the dependency injection. Okay, then it will be clear. So listen carefully. See, here we have a salary class with calculate salary method. Okay, now we want to use this method in our employee class like this. See, here we are creating the object of the salary class and then calling the calculate salary method like this. Simple, everyone know this, and this is how what we do without dependency injection. This is how we are calling the method. Now we will use dependency injection, and here is the code. See, here we will declare one read-only variable of salary class. Then inside the constructor of the employee class, we will pass the dependency. What is the dependency? Salary is class. So we will pass this dependency, which is salary, here as an parameter. And then this local variable with underscore salary will be assigned the dependency which we received from the salary class. Okay, so now our local variable is capable of calling the method of salary class like this. So this is dependency injection. Here the employee class is dependent on dependency salary class. Okay, and remember, the dependency salary class is injected in employee class through the constructor. Therefore, the constructor has a very important role here. Now, the most important question is why we are all doing all this. This is looks slightly more complex than normal object creation, right? Actually, instead of injecting the salary class, we inject the interface in actual .NET Core projects. Okay, and that will give us more benefits like loose coupling architecture, easier unit testing, and many more. I will explain that in next question. But for now, you fully understand this definition. Dependency injection is a software design pattern in which we inject the dependency object of a class into another class. You know what is dependency object and how it is injected, right? Through the constructor, right? Now this is dependency injection in general, but in .NET Core we will use interfaces, and that I will explain with the advantages in the upcoming question. How to implement dependency injection in .NET Core? Let's start with the problem first. If you will understand what's the problem without the dependency injection, then it will be more clear to you. Okay, suppose you are working in a project for an institution which provide coaching classes. Okay, right now they are focusing only on maths classes. They want you now to create an application for managing maths class students. As a developer, you will create a class for math student class like this. This math student class will have a method get student count, which will return the number of maths students. Right now, just for simplicity, I hard coded it as 50. Now to expose this method, you will create a controller which will return it to the view or web API. Okay, like this as shown here. I named this controller as first controller for simplicity again, but the name can be different in real application. In this controller, you will simply create the object of math student class and call its method get student like this. This is the normal way of object creation, right? Now the problem is, after some months, your client or manager will ask you to replace this math student with the new science student class. Here is the new science student class. Now the method name is math student class and get student count, but the class is different. Okay, so method name is same inside both classes, but the class name is different. So now what you will do, because your project has to be very flexible, right? It should accept any number of changes. So can it like, now what you will do, inside the first controller you will simply replace this math student with the science student class. That is very simple. But in a big or enterprise level applications, there will be many controllers, like hundreds of controllers, which are also creating the object of the math student class. Now like this, we can have a second controller which is again creating the math student class and calling this method, and similarly we have many more controllers and all are creating the object. So if you will replace all the math student class with the science student class in all the 100 controllers, so much code changes are required for that, and I guarantee you will miss one or two of them and then testers will grab your collar. Okay, so that is the problem, because for one change you have to do 100 at 100 places. So because more and also more code changes will lead to more errors and more testing will be required, and this is the problem, and this is the problem we call tight coupling, because first controller class is tightly coupled with math student class. And here what we will do now, with the help of dependency injection, we will do loose coupling between this first controller class with the math student class. Okay, so meaning we will code and design the controller in a manner so that there will be no code change required in the controllers. If we will replace the maths with science class or history class or any other class, no code change will be required in this controllers. Now in avoid to so first step to do this is, first we have to create one interface, that is iStudent, like this, which will only contains the declaration of the method, this get student count methods, no definition, no implementation. Then inherit this iStudent interface in math student and science student class like this. See, the base class interface iStudent is added, nothing else. Now you have registered your iStudent interface with math student class in the startup class file configure service method like this. So you have to register your iStudent interface service. Okay, and the name of the actual service is math student. If you are new to add singleton, then don't worry, I will explain this in upcoming question, but here you can just understand that this is used to register math student class of iStudent type. This is the role of configure service method, to register the services. If you are using again .NET 6.0, then there you have to add the same thing in the main method of the program file. Okay, it means now what this means, what this adding the service here, registering the service, what does it mean? It means wherever iStudent interface will be injected, there math student class will be used. Okay, now your first controller code should not be creating the object of the math student class. Instead, the new first controller will look something like this. See here, now if you remember dependency injection concept, basic concept, then here we are injecting the dependency iStudent object in the constructor of the first controller class, and then we are calling the get student count method of this interface. Now since math student class is registered with the iStudent, therefore here it will call the get student count method of the math student class only. Okay, see, as a result, first controller class now is not tightly coupled with math student class. How it is not tightly coupled? Because if now you will replace this math student class with the science student class, then that you have to need to change that only inside this configure services method, not here inside the controllers. Now if your manager will ask you like any class update, so you need not to change the same thing in the second controller or third controller or any controller. Okay, you just replace math student with science student here in the configure services method only like this, and all the controllers where iStudent service was injected will automatically started using the get student count method of the science student class instead of math student class. See, only one word of code change and all your controllers will be referring to the new methods. You have saved 100 lines of code. If you see, we are not creating the object, rather injecting the interfaces, right? So that is the whole story. the tight coupling problem and how we will solve this tight coupling problem with the help of dependency injection. Now, what are the advantages of using interfaces and loose coupling? That I will explain in upcoming question. What are the advantages of dependency injection in .NET Core? We already saw how to implement dependency injection in .NET Core and what is dependency injection, right? Basically, it gives you loose coupling between the services. Now, that is loose coupling will give you some advantages. So here are the 4 advantages below because of loose coupling. Flexibility. DI allows you to easily change the behavior of application without modifying its code. So by injecting dependencies, you can easily switch between different implementation of a service class. So as we have seen earlier questions that we can replace math student with the science student class, right? So that flexibility, that behavior can be achieved by the loose coupling only. Okay, so this is the first advantage. Second advantage is easier unit testing. DI makes it easy to unit test your code by allowing you to easily replace real dependencies with mock with the help of interfaces. So if you are aware about unit testing, then you know the role of the interfaces. Okay, with the help of interfaces, you can mock your classes. If you are new to unit testing, then it will be slightly difficult to understand. But yes, easier unit testing will be very easier if you will use the dependency injection in your project. Third advantage is independent modules. By separating dependencies, because it become easier to make changes to your code without affecting the rest of the system. So independent modules, like if you are doing some code change in one service, then other service you do not even need to test. Like if even they are both dependent on each other, still you do not have to change one if you are making the changes in another. So that is the advantage of dependency injection. And the fourth advantage is reusability. DI promotes the reuse of components by making them independent of their environment. This allows you to reuse the same components in different applications without modifications. So basically it is saying that when you will implement dependency injection, then that means your services are independent. Okay, so what happen, you can use one service in multiple another modules or another services. So that is reusability, and that is also promoted by the dependency injection. Great, I think now you have enough information about dependency injections, right? How to use dependency injection in views in ASP.NET Core. Alright, we already know how to inject dependencies in controllers. For that we have that iStudent interface, and then we have math student class which implement that interface. Then we configured or registered math student service in the configure method of startup class like this, and finally we injected the service in the controller like this, right? Up to here I already explained in previous questions. Now suppose we want to call this getStudentCount method in the view rather than controller. Okay, what we will do then? For this we will use this inject directive to inject the dependency services like this inside the views. And then we can call the method getStudentCount from the object of the dependency. Okay, so the one-liner answer is a service can be injected into a view using the inject directive.